You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk 1150 AM. Now, back to the show with local mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell.
You are listening to the Money Hour at 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, May 21st show. You can also listen to my show podcast, Facebook premiere show, or you can catch my show on my show YouTube channel. In addition, for more information on upcoming events, you can go to tinamitchellevents.com. I am your host and local mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell. I'm here to help you build a strong financial blueprint 1 week and one show at a time. If you are hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast. I'm here to answer any questions or connect you with the guests that I have on the show today. Please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And now in studio, Jana Riggan, Newcastle Life magazine, business marketing, right here on 1150 AM KKNW. Jana, really excited to have you back into studio and have a conversation about marketing, how to best get results, and what you're doing for our community by helping local business owners through your magazine. So what is the difference between lead generation and branding?
Yeah, so this is something that a lot of businesses, I think, struggle to really understand. Lead generation is when you're getting in front of people who need your services right then, right? So I need a roof. There's water coming through onto my floor. I'm going to Google roofers, and a bunch of them are going to show up. And typically what happens is those roofers are spending some money on advertising for that person who's looking for a roofer right then. I have talked to people who spend anywhere from $45 per click on that ad. I talked to somebody who spends $175 when you're doing that. So that lead generation can be really expensive. It is a great way though to get, I mean, if you have a leak in your roof, you need that to happen right away. So you do want to be in front of those clients. But branding is when somebody isn't just searching for a roofer, they are searching for your actual name. And that it's getting in front of people before they have that leak in the roof, so that when they have that leak in the roof and they're doing that Google search, your name pops up and they're like, yes, that is the person I want to use. I often think of it like if you're driving across the country and you're hungry, and let's say you have some kids in the back screaming, and you see McDonald's and you see Debbie's Diner, you know you can pull into a McDonald's. You know exactly what you can get. The menu is going to be the same. You know, Debbie's Diner might be way better, but you're going to Yelp review it. You're going to look it up. You probably aren't just going to swing in to that. So the branding is that McDonald's. It's that we know what that is all about, right? So that's sort of that difference.
Yeah, that's a really great description and the difference in building your brand. And it has a subconscious piece to it as well, where they're emotionally connected to you and they really don't even know why. It's because you've been building that brand and that reputation and that expertise through that marketing that you're doing, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that emotional tie-in is very, very important.
Yeah, well, absolutely. So why is it important to do both on the branding side of it and the lead generation for that person that has the emergency that comes up?
So a lot of times that emergency comes up and you forget, right? You just don't know. So when you're going in and you're doing that Google search, you need that strong SEO, which is where your website is going to come up when somebody searches for it. And that adds those pay-per-click ads also work as well. But hopefully somebody sees your name and then all of a sudden that branding comes back in. They're like, oh yes, I remember this. This is who I want to use. And they're going to use you. Yeah. But that combination is important because just branding is great, right? If you're a McDonald's, you're just branding, it works for you. But typically businesses are not where McDonald's is. McDonald's has been doing a really great job for a really, really, really long time. So that lead generation is important. There's actually a story, and I may have said this last time I was on here, but of Kellogg's cereal and Post cereal prior to the Great Depression and then after the Great Depression. So prior to the Great Depression, Post cereal was the #1 cereal in the United States. Mm-hmm. The Depression hit and they pulled way back on their advertising. Kellogg's did the opposite. They started advertising more. They invented new cereals. You have Rice Krispies and all these fun things. Today, still, however many years later, I think it's almost 100, Kellogg's cereal is still the #1 cereal.
Wow.
So that's that branding and being in front of people over and over and over again. When the economy changes or business is, maybe not as great as it was before,
Yeah.
The idea, or a lot of businesses or a lot of people are just like, well, let's pull back, let's stop spending, let's not do it. The reality is if you lean in, the results are going to be there because you're now in front of all these folks over and over and over again, and other businesses are pulling back, but you're like, no, these are my people. I want to stay in front of them.
That's your chance to where you have a chance to stand out and to really win the game overall on a long-term basis.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Jana, Newcastle Life is changing its name to Greet. What is the why behind the your name change?
Well, we talk about branding all the time, and that's really what we're all about. As a company, as N2 looked at all of our different publications, they realized that we ourselves were sort of missing the boat. I was branding Newcastle Life. Mercer Island Living was branding Mercer Island Living. The Points was the Points. There was no consistency. So we took our own messaging to heart and realized that we needed to have a very recognizable name across the country. And so most of the publications in the greater Seattle area are changing to Greet, or they're changing to Stroll. There's two different types that are out there. But we took our messaging to heart. We're like, people need to know who we are. If you get a Greet magazine, it's N2. If you get a Stroll magazine, it's N2. And that we have that reputation, that the great design, the great stories, that we are really all about creating that community. And if you get that magazine, or if you're a business owner that wants to partner with us in that magazine, you know exactly what you're getting. It just really helps that brand recognition.
How exciting going through a brand change with a name change. Lots of behind the scene exciting things going on for sure.
Yes, I'm very excited about it. And actually, there's a competitor magazine in Newcastle with a very similar name. I have sometimes gotten confused by it. So I'm very excited to have something brand new and different.
That is so, that's so exciting. So what are some statistics around print that you can share today?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. Print, especially today, I think, how many times have you bought something from Amazon and you get it and you're like, well, that wasn't what I wanted. Or my thing is like Instagram early in the morning. I don't know what it is, but I'm like, that looks great. And I buy it and I get it. And I'm like, whoa. Whoa. So there's trust rate with digital is really going down. So there is a 2.5 times greater recall when you see something in print versus digital. There's an 82% trust rate when you see something in print, and it's only 43% digital. People love to be able to hold something in their hands, and there's a luxury about it that you're not getting with digital. Even Amazon, by the way, sends out a toy catalog, a printed toy catalog at Christmas time. So there is this really great piece of print that is super compelling, that stays with people a lot longer.
And you have a chance to stand out in the crowd as well, because majority and not a lot are doing the print. They're doing the easier and the online. And again, having a combination of a mix of what you're doing for marketing. But if you have a platform that allows you to stand out next to your competitors, and I love how you, say the print it's something special. You get to hold into your hand, which is going to bring a more emotional connection to you, your company, your brand and product and service that you have to offer. So Jana, why does Greet work?
Why does it work? It is creating that emotional connection. People read the publication who live in the neighborhood because it's all about them. I call us the people magazine of the neighborhood. So we tell the stories of the people who live in the community. And today, especially, people are losing community. You hear that over and over and over again. But we are creating that community. So for a business who partners with us, the neighbors are reading it, they're looking at it, and then they are identifying and they have that emotional connection with all the advertisers that I'm working with, right? So it's not just ads, right? It's not just something that's being mailed to them that there's no point in it. The point is community connection. Yeah. And then the benefit to the businesses is they are seen as that community connector.
Yeah, and I was able to be one of your neighbors interviewed last year through the magazine, which was really great to share my story of tragedy to triumph. And it was surprising that Some of my neighbors had no idea of my story and had comment on it. So it really is great. And we're able to open up that emotional connection to the product and service that we're offering through our story, because that's where people are able to connect with you. So thank you for that opportunity, Jana. So do you also offer lead generation?
Yeah, so we actually have a whole new program that we're offering with what we do. It's called Highport Digital. And what we have found with our print, as much as we love it, it is very hard to track. So we added this digital component to it for our business partners. They get that, but we can extend that as well. And what's different about what we do than what other agencies do is we actually have someone who manually is tracking. So what happens a lot of times is you have like an artificial intelligence and AI who's manning your pay-per-click or whatever, and they're saying, hey, it's interesting if I type in Tina Mitchell and her ad, when somebody types that in, that ad, that's the number one, that works every single time, all day, every day. Well, of course it does, because that branding already works, right? You just typed in Tina Mitchell. You don't want to pay for a click because that person knows who you are already. But with an AI, it just shows up as that makes the most sense. Yeah. When you have somebody manually doing it, you're like, no, Tina does not want to pay a lot of money for that. It's already working for her. So we're not doing that. We're going to do maybe mortgage lenders or any of your classes or whatever. There's a lot of things that somebody would do if they're manually paying attention to it. Yeah. And we also do like a live chat where we actually have a person who will manually answer those questions for your live chat. You'll answer some questions and there'll be standard answers, but there's an actual person behind it. I don't know if you've ever gone to a website and you type something and you have a question and you get some random thing that doesn't answer your question at all. But if you have a live person there, they can answer your questions as much as possible and then maybe say, hey, we will get back to you tomorrow. But then you realize that what you're looking for is your questions have been answered, right? You don't have to keep searching and looking. So we have an SEO program that does really well as search engine marketing. We'll do those over the top, those commercials that you see if you're watching anything other than Netflix. I'm starting to see them more and more and more. The chat, there's just a lot of options that are out there that we are able now to offer our business partners. So it's really exciting to be able to offer both that branding package, getting in front of your ideal clients over and over and over again, and then that lead generation side of it as well.
Yeah, that is great. Very exciting. So how do these all work together?
So you want, a little bit of both, right? It's always interesting if you think about, I sometimes people say, well, this person doesn't ever need to advertise. Look how busy they are. And if you look at some of these bigger brands, McDonald's, again, they're advertising during a Super Bowl commercial. Nike is out there advertising over and over and over again. These big brands, they are constantly out there advertising. So that's that branding piece of it. But again, you sort of want both, that lead generation also, because for many businesses, especially if you're kind of a newer business, you need those clients coming in over and over and over again. A new business is going to be driving all over, they're just going to do whatever. Eventually you're going to say, hey, I really would like to do all my work in Newcastle and Newport Hills. So I'm going to slowly market more and more and more just to my ideal clients.
Yeah.
So they go hand in hand. Sure.
That is such a great strategy on your ideal client, is really deciding what that target area is going to be, and then dialing it at a high level on that and building that rapport, building that reputation and expertise within that particular area. So Jana, what should a brand new business do for you? Mentioned brand new businesses a little bit here, but what is important for them for marketing?
Well, and that's the case. Branding often is something that you want to do after you've been in business for a couple of years. So I will meet with brand new businesses who really do need to do that lead generation as they start, right? They need to kind of get their foot in their door, see what works, what doesn't work, and go everywhere and kind of be open to everything. And then the more and more established they get, that's when they really hone down that marketing strategy a little bit more. And that's when they really want to double down on branding, because they want that value. Branding is a little bit of that value piece. Who are you and what are you all about, right? And a new business is sometimes still trying to figure it out. It's like your 2-year-old, right? A 2-year-old versus a 2-year-old walking versus a 10-year-old walking.
Sure.
10-year-old does a way better job. Usually.
All depends, right? So Jana, what about the established business then? What are they doing differently than the new business?
So those established businesses really can do that marketing, that branding. That branding piece of it is so important because people already know who they are. So it's knowing, like, and trusting. Somebody read one day is like, if you meet a random person out on the street and they ask you ask them to go to coffee with you, they probably aren't going to do it, right? They're going to think you're a weirdo. But if you see them every single day, every single week, you've known them for years, and you run into them and you ask them to go to coffee, of course they're going to say yes, right? Because they're a friend, they're a best friend. So business marketing is a little bit like that. If you're brand new, you're that random person who just walked up to somebody on the street. But if I've seen you, if I've known you, you're become my friend, and you can really double down on that branding. But you want to stay in front of people.
Yeah.
You don't want to just disappear, right? Because a lot of times you're out of sight, out of mind. Really, that saying is very true. So stay in front of people, stay in front of your ideal clients, but you can put more of your efforts into who you are as a company and making sure people really do know, like, and trust you.
That makes sense. Well, Jana, thank you so much for coming back in studio. It's a pleasure to have you here and to support what you're doing and the difference that you're making in local businesses in our community through helping them with their marketing, lead generation, and most importantly, their branding, so people know who they are, why they do what they do, and how their product and service can really make a difference in our lives.
Thank you, Tina.
Yeah, look forward to having you back soon.